premise is this. If you as a sales manager don't step up and lead effectively, you should prepare yourself for the day when your salespeople are going to nail something like this on your door. And it says, "We demand better sales leadership." See, there's a little nail in it too.
I love it. It's gorgeous.
Yes.
All right, everyone. You are watching the raw and uncut version of today's SellOut Show, where we have another really awesome guest who, if you're a salesperson, if you are a sales manager, even a business owner, you need to sit up and pay attention. Dianna, tell everyone who we're going to have on today.
Yeah, we're having Matt McDarby on today, and Matt was a boots on the ground, phone in the hand, as he calls it, big bag carrying guy for a long time. He became a successful sales manager, and now he coaches sales managers how to be successful with their team. So it's really, creating the beautiful marriage of, when a sales manager and a salesperson are working in tandem and together, magical things can work, but we kind of undo some of the things that you should undo. So enjoy.
So fancy.
Look at you, all fancy.
Yeah, I had a facial peel Tuesday.
Ooh.
So right now makeup is physically holding the top layer of my face on because at any moment it's going to slide off like an iceberg calving into the ocean. So
oh my God.
It's like
so my little skin, of course, we're always on the same page with something. I don't know if you've been seeing on Facebook, we're doing this whole demo and the back of our house and our decks, right? So we live in the woods. So I was out like rooting around and trying to get some wood out, some like building supplies out of the weeds, poison ivy. I get on my gloves, right? And I think I have everything sort of handled. And then I wipe my face. So you can't see it because I've got like loads of foundation, but there's this big mark of poison ivy on my top lip. I'm like, oh, that's attractive.
You win. That sucks.
So anyway, the moral of the story is the show must go on. And
the show must go on. You slather that sucker in makeup, spackle it on, and go.
And nobody cares.
No,
except for you.
And we don't have fine enough resolution for you to really be able to see it.
Don't upgrade your film capabilities. That's smart.
Oh my gosh. I'm super, super excited about our guest today. This is another one. I love it when, we bring people to the party that I haven't met before, you haven't met before. I think that's really fun.
Yeah. Well, this guy, this is so important about I've been discovering so much stuff about social selling. Like, everybody's like, social selling, whatever. They have all their opinions about it. And I'm like, it kind of sounds to me like people might have been back in the days of the telegram and mail and, traveling salespeople on trains where they're like, this newfangled phone thing will never work for sales. That's never going to work. So I kind of think, I notice even myself that it's hard to get my attention on email. And as a salesperson, you get very few emails. We all know. But I'm easier to get my attention if you're responding to something that I'm doing, or you're doing something on Facebook, or you're doing something on LinkedIn. So anyway, this guy was, I was having a conversation with Keenan about sales managers and how sales leadership is lacking so much. And you can say yes or no, but I chimed in and I was like, well, these poor sales managers, they get no professional training. And this guy who's coming on today, Matt, he wrote an entire article called The Salesperson's Manifesto that every sales manager should know. These are the things that a salesperson should be able to expect of you. So I thought we might turn the tables a little bit today and see, what does a sales manager's life look like so that you can keep them a little bit scared of you and manage up to get what you want, to get what you need as a salesperson. So
yeah.
That's how we ran into him. I've never even seen his little face.
Well, that's the beauty of the world we live in, is that you can build relationships now without having ever met people. It's just phenomenal. And I'd like to credit, like, that's how I met Women Sales Pros, and that's how I got into that group, and that's how I met you. And it is such a beautiful thing what you can build when you put yourself out there and, go for it and just meet people and engage with them and be like, hey, and it's pretty amazing what you can do when you put yourself out there.
Like them, love them, tweet them, subscribe. All right. So did you send him the link?
I did. I sent him I sent him a message yesterday telling him I'd send him a link just a little bit after the top of the hour.
Okay. That's so perfect. That's perfect. So tell me something exciting that's happened in your week this week.
I don't even know. I need a vacation because it just feels like more of the same. You're out of school for the summer, great, but that's still, get up, get ready, get the kids to camp, and then go do your work and stuff like that. So that's interesting.
Actually, vacations for the kids is less vacation for mom, right?
Yeah, there's no summer vacation for working mothers. I mean, or really mothers at all. I mean, you're always a mom. But anyway, I just feel like I need a change of scenery. Running it's hot out, so I'm on the treadmill, and it's just like, I need a vacay.
Where would you go?
I'm a mountains kind of girl, so I would go trekking through the mountains, someplace where they have streams. I like to throw rocks in water. I'm not complicated. I am not complicated.
You have got to come visit me. I live about a 4-minute walking distance away from throwing rocks into Lake Michigan. You'll have so much fun. You can skip them.
Yeah, I know. And I grew up in Lake Michigan. I mean, in a town that was right on Lake Michigan. So it's funny because people are always, when I moved to the South, people are like, oh, this lake and that lake. I'm like, yeah, can you see across your lake? Well, you can't see across my lake. It's so big.
You're like, that's more like a pond that you're talking about over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. That's hilarious. Yeah, I was watching a video cast it was like a webinar about how to do conversational presentations. It was hosted by Prezi for Business, which you should absolutely go check. Did you see it?
That's when you sent to me. Yeah. Humor. And oh my gosh, it was great.
This guy who wrote this book called You Talk Funny, hilarious. It's about, or I Talk Funny or something like that. It's about how important it is to incorporate humor in, whatever it is that you're communicating when you're doing presentations. And I think, it's one thing, we talk a lot about the front end of the funnel of how do you get somebody's attention and how do you get them engaged with you. But, after you put in all that effort, you better be good when you're in front of them. So I just love that Seth Godin, is like the funniest presenter of all the big time people. It was just, I thought I got a lot out of that. So anyway, I'm not that funny, but it was cool. It was cool.
Well, it really is. I mean, I think humor is, it's kind of universal, it's whether it's, something that someone does or the physicality of something, humor is universal. Yay!
Yay!
Hey, that's a great reaction. I don't think I've ever had that.
Yeah, well, we were talking about how humor is universal, and then you popped up. So
wow. Oh boy. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, that's why we record your entrance, because we want you to understand and everyone understand how excited we get when people agree to be on our show.
Well, I'm excited to be here too. I just hope that I can sustain the excitement. You were talking about humor. My style is I am dry as dust. So I have to have a hand signal if I say something that's supposed to be funny and you're not laughing.
Well, it's like those shows where, I don't know if you've been to those shows where they're doing live taping and they have people holding up to the audience, like applause. So you'll just wiggle your ear or something. But before we introduce you, because I want to jump right in, I want to hear one thing that most salespeople don't know about a sales manager's day. And then, so I'll give you a chance to kind of think about that. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself. I was sharing with Shawn how you and I met on LinkedIn. Social selling is definitely not dead.
Right.
But I'd love for you to take a minute and introduce yourself and what it is that you do. And then jump into the question, what is one thing that salespeople absolutely don't know about sales managers that they need to know to impact their success?
Yeah, there's so many things. Well, I'll start by saying there is no special sales manager lounge, right? There's no great place where we all convene, where we have, access to great comforts. No such thing. I thought there was. When I got promoted into sales management, I realized, wow, this really sucks. This is the same thing. I'm in the same office. I've got everything's the same. I'll come back to some other things they don't know here in a minute. But yes, I'm Matt McDarby. For those of you who I have not met, I'm the president and chief sales officer. I love big titles. I'm I don't really, I'm kidding. Of United Sales Resources. We go by USR. We are in the sales leadership coaching and advisory services business. So we focus on the pivotal role. If you want to change the performance of a sales organization, you focus primarily on the sales managers. Make sure they're great and results will follow. I started the company a little over 7 years ago. And before that, I sold and led a sales team at Huthwaite. Sometimes people hear that name and their eyes glaze over, like, Huthwaite? Who is that? Neil Rackham, Spin Selling. Right?
Oh,
That's the name. Those are the words that usually resonate. So anyway, one of my original visions was I wanted to start an agency that would help small to middle market companies to sell. But I couldn't crack the code on how to do it. So I'll be interested in learning from you, Shawn, on how the heck you did it and how you've been doing it so well for so long. Because after a while, I just said, you know what? I'm just going to go and do what I know to do. Let me coach and advise. Let me focus on the sales management team. Nobody else is doing that. So if I can do that reasonably well, I've probably got something. So 7 years later, I think we figured it out.
Well, and I think that's what's important too, is, we have so many, I like to say sales experts and authors. And, I actually think there's room for everybody because there are so many dimensions to sales, and the focus of this particular show is Shawn and I really love the boots on the ground, phone in the hand people that are interested in taking their, sales career from a 5-figure to what we call the solid 6. And, so I can see you guys dishing all day long about sales managers.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's time for that for other people. But I think what our sellers really need, you tell me what you think, Shawn, but I think what our sellers really need to do, Shawn always said, you tell him. It's funnier when you say it.
Well, one of my personal mantras in sales was really actually anywhere I've ever worked, but in sales was I've always liked to keep my managers just a little bit scared of me. Don't make her mad.
Yes. Yeah. I've had people like that on my team. Yeah. I'll tell a story shortly about that.
Yeah. I had to earn that. You have to perform to be able to earn the right. And it was just mainly because whenever I needed something, I needed to make sure I would get it. Whenever I, needed a little bit of room or I messed up, I needed the cushion or the comfort to be like, you know what, it's all good. Normally you're an A, today you got to C or whatever. So, if, we talk about managing your sales managers, that was always one of my goals, was to keep them just a little bit scared of making me mad. Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, I and I knew that was one of the premises here we want to talk about, which is managing up and I get it. I understand what you mean, right? About keeping the manager on edge. And I'm going to really struggle. I'm not going to name names, but there's one person in the back of my mind who I remember from my days leading the team at Huthwaite, who that was her MO. She kept me at
arm's. Sales managers just love people like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, right? I think it's,
let's talk about the wrong way.
Yeah. The wrong way is to be a bully. The wrong way is to be nasty. The wrong way is to blow off requests. The wrong way is to be disrespectful, right? I mean, these are kind of obvious. We don't have to dwell on that because and I've seen some of that, right? In my own experience and in working with sales managers, you do see salespeople who, and this is not the common profile for us. A lot of us salespeople we want to get along.
Yeah.
But there are some people who are in this profession who are bullies, and not many, but they're no fun. They're not a lot of fun to manage. And I will tell you that, and I know what you mean by making your manager, and you're saying it kind of tongue in cheek, and you're saying, I know what you mean. But
that was nice. That was respectful. I just needed that edge sometimes.
Sure. And I totally get it. Right. And I think the edge of how the sales manager perceives that edge is, she is on her game. I better be on mine too. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's, in so many words. But I think if somebody, again, not to dwell too long on the wrong way, but if somebody is rude, disrespectful, pushing the manager around, eventually the manager is just going to run out of patience. And keep in mind, right, there is one thing that I can do to you that you can't do to me. Right? I can put stuff in your file and I can get rid of you.
Yeah.
So, and obviously it seems kind of intuitive that you wouldn't want to do that. But I can tell you there are some people who, for whatever reason, haven't learned that lesson. But I know that's not what you meant. But I think that we talked about it kind of at the beginning of the conversation. Actually, let me put a question to you guys. I'm going to kind of reverse roles here for a moment. I spend most of my time with sales managers. What do you think is the common complaint among all sales managers, regardless of where they are, culture, industry, tenure? What do you think they all say? There's some version of the same complaint. What would it be?
I would say this is what I experienced in my last two sales roles. My sales managers didn't have enough time to develop their people. They spent their time managing management, honestly, reports and they kept getting sucked in, and the time they actually had to develop people was less and less and less and less.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. I mean, sorry, Diana, you don't get to guess.
No, it's great because I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. It's some version of, they use different words, but it's some version of, I don't have enough time to do important things well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a lot of what we do is we've helped them figure out how would I do that. So, the first principle here is, as a salesperson, one of the keys is you've got to remember, what is my main problem here? I don't have a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And if we can make our time together as valuable as possible, that would be good. Because and I think we probably all experienced it. When you don't have a lot of time, there is nothing worse than sitting down and working with somebody else who doesn't value time equally.
Right.
So let's do a practical example of that. So I'm a salesperson. I need the attention of my manager, and we get 30 minutes set aside to have a one-on-one, which always get rescheduled somehow. But when you actually get it really on the calendar, how do I, as a salesperson, bring value to that time?
Yeah. Well, I think there's some basic principles here. Actually, I'll answer the question here in a sec, but there are, let's remember what our objective is, right? We've got certain things as salespeople. And remember, I'm a career salesperson. Most of my career is carrying a bag, answering to sales managers, not being a sales manager. It's just the last few years in sales leadership. What are the things that we want from a sales manager? Mm-hmm. Like, if we're going to make that 30 minutes valuable, why? Is it because we're nice guys and ladies? No, it's because, what are some of the things we want from our sales managers? Shawn.
Well, I know. I mean, what I always wanted from my sales manager was the resources that I needed internally in the organization, and for them to stay out of my way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted what I wanted from my sales manager was the only time I needed them was when I needed a little extra push. I needed them to challenge me just a little bit, to push just a little bit.
Accountability, for sure.
The rest of the time I wanted them to stay out of my way. And the other thing I think I wanted from them too was to make sure that the rules of engagement were fair and everyone stuck to them. That was so important for me.
Sure, absolutely. So accountability, motivation, fairness, freedom. Mm-hmm. Right.
And the resources that I need to get my job done. Yeah.
Resources. Internally. And I think the only one I would add here is maybe some recognition, right? If I do things well, right? If I do things well, give me a nod, make it relevant. So if I like, and maybe freedom itself is the reward, but for some people it is. For others, it's, they want to be able to take their spouse out. It's hard to say. Their spouse out for a nice dinner. So a reward would be a gift card or whatever, right? So I think the other thing is recognition. So if those are the things we want, and unless you're the boss's son or daughter, or you have some compromising photos of your sales manager, those are generally, that was a joke, by the way.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
I see.
These are things that have to be earned. Mm-hmm. They're generally not given to you on day one. Some of them shouldn't be given to you on day one. So how do you go about earning those things, and how do you make that experience with the manager, that 30 minutes in your example, Diana? How do you make that work? I think there's a couple of simple principles here. One, be prepared. Do your homework. Be as prepared, or I would submit, be even better prepared than your sales manager is.
Mm-hmm.
In my own experience, I had a reputation in the last place where I worked as a bit of a Boy Scout. And it wasn't because I was like a brown noser or somebody that wanted to be liked by the sales manager. It was because I recognized there were certain things that I just had to do to prepare with my interactions with the leadership team. And remember, this was tough. The bar was set kind of high in terms of expectations for salesmanship and preparation. But even in an environment like that, you had some people who just didn't think it was that important to be fully prepared. Blows my mind. But anyway, but I think what you get when you come prepared is, again, keeping in mind the problem that manager has, right? I don't have a lot of time. If it's half an hour, we can't spend the first 20 minutes on a fishing expedition, right?
Right.
If there are certain, anticipate your manager's questions. If there are, simple examples, like a manager will start out an opportunity planning session, if you're in the habit of doing those with your manager, and they consistently ask a question at the beginning of the meeting, like, what stage are we in our process with the customer? Or, right? Or,
and then the answer has how much truth is associated with that answer.
Yeah. Try not to make up a story in response. But here's the point: anticipate the question. Right. Don't act surprised when the same question that just got asked the last time you convened to do an opportunity planning session. Right. So this is all along the lines of being prepared. Set the bar high for yourself. Be, as or better prepared than your manager, and anticipate some of those key questions. Here's the key, though: you don't have to get the answers right, but demonstrate to your manager that to her or to him that, hey, I've actually given this some thought. What does that mean? I respect your time.
Right.
I use my time well, and I respect yours. So that's point one. I think be prepared. I was not a Boy Scout. I had the reputation as one, but I think being prepared is one of the key principles. I think the other key one is when you make a mistake as a salesperson. I don't know about you guys. I know people who, as salespeople, made lots of mistakes. I was one of them. Yes, I know. Not you.
I did a doozy, just yesterday. So yeah.
Okay. So you know what I mean.
We actually, just as a side note, that's one of the things we love to talk about, because in all the stuff that's out there, I don't think salespeople know that or really see that enough. You're going to screw up. It's okay to screw up. You're going to screw up, and it's how you recover. Yeah.
We call it sales fails.
Yeah. Hashtag.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we hired new people, and even when I'm working with clients now, if they're onboarding people, one of the themes in their onboarding process is please fail. Get out there and make mistakes.
Right.
If you're not, it means you're probably not getting out there and having conversations with customers. You're probably not stretching yourself, which means this is going to be a really long process to get you acclimated to this job.
Right.
Please fail. But I think the key is when you make a mistake, demonstrate, and this is the second principle, I think, of managing up in this example. When you make a mistake, demonstrate that you've learned something from it. Right? We're not going for perfect here, but if your manager is sitting across the table from you, she concludes, okay, Matt really screwed this up the last time as we had a scenario like this, but I'm realizing that he did learn something from that. That's good. We're building. Right. As opposed to, again, keep in mind, right, we don't have a lot of time. And if I have to review the same lessons over and over and over again with this person, I'm going to jump out a window. I don't have time for it. So, right. So there's two basic things. So, if you want to earn as a salesperson in this scenario, take steps in the 30 minutes to earn whatever it is, the freedom, the support that you need, the resources that you want, on and on and on. The kind of relationship you want with your sales manager. Be prepared and demonstrate to your manager that you're learning from when you screw up. I think those are the two keys.
Mm-hmm. Sure, and everything.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to think, one of the things I think is so important as a salesperson is really kind of every place in life is to show people, starting from the interview to onboarding to those first meetings, to show them that you're coachable. And that's, that's being prepared and showing that you'll learn from mistakes. Is there anything else you would say, how you would show your sales manager that you're coachable?
I think it's the final thing would be that I actually understand the mission. I understand the outcome we're trying to achieve. That we are trying to achieve, right? I've got my quota and I'm certainly focused on that. But I'm also plugged into the fact that we collectively have an outcome we're all trying to achieve. If I can at least make a connection, this isn't all that different, guys, from when I'm in a sales call, right?
Well, exactly, right? It's like a sales call. You're prepared for your client. You're anticipating questions. Yeah, that's exactly how that was occurring for me. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. I think I didn't have anything else really brilliant to add to that.
I might not.
Would you?
But I want your opinion about this. Okay. So I think one of the things that made me really successful as an individual contributor, and I really want boots on the ground, phone in the hand people to get this, is that there's a lot of conversation. Sales management now is being called sales leadership a lot, which I think is kind of funny because it's not necessarily true, but that's okay. I mean, I think there's, for a salesperson to have a lot of empathy for, here's this person who is accountable to the organization for results that they can't directly control. And if you are anybody who can even think about that, that must be crazy making. Plus, you've got all these salespeople that have their own different motivators, their own different personalities, their own different styles. And I mean, it's really, you've got to be an unbelievably big, flexible person to take that on. But what I want to say is, what I think that made me successful as a salesperson, or it makes me successful, is I always look at my territory or my outcomes as if I'm the CEO of my own, what I'm responsible for. Sure. And so I think that individual contributors, which I think is a horrible name, especially as we start to become more organizational sellers, but I think that there's real opportunities for you to demonstrate leadership and succeed. And that doesn't even mean that you need to move into leadership or management. Right. You can have a very lucrative, even sometimes more lucrative than your boss, if you've got the right compensation plan.
Yeah, tell me about it.
A salesperson, right. I know, biggest mistake of, moving to VP of sales.
I'm making how much? Yeah.
But what do you think about that? And also the courage to ask, like you were saying, demonstrate being coachable, Shawn. But, a just practical way to do that is have the courage to ask for feedback and say, okay, now we've kind of laid out where everything is. Is there anything that I should know about how I'm selling, or how people in the organization are perceiving me, or if we're getting feedback from clients or prospects? Like, ask proactively for the feedback, because it's scary, but it always makes you better, right? Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and again, like I said, I'm most of my career is as a bag carrying salesperson, right? Yeah. And I'll talk about when the first time I had the conversation with John, who was the CEO at Huthwaite at the time, about what was the conversation about moving into a leadership role in a second. Yeah. But in terms of, you said sales leadership, it's kind of funny. That is definitely an aspirational label, right? Most people are just sales managers. They're not really leading. And I think that may be because, even as salespeople, maybe they produced really great numbers, but they really didn't look at their role as being one of leadership. I always did. Yeah. Right? Yeah. There's obvious ways in which we're leaders. If we're selling, particularly if you're in a services business, you're selling something, and typically you remain involved in some degree, and you make sure the delivery team understands the outcome you want. You're involved, and you're involved in the implementation to a certain extent, and you're there at the end to gather stories and sell, on and on and on. Right. So in that sense, it is a concrete part of the job. You've got to be a leader of a team, whether it's you and a sales support person, or you and a project manager, or you and an inside person who's just handling transactions. Right. But I think what you're saying, Dianna, is great performers, and I found this to be true as well. Great performers are the people who say, screw the title. I was joking earlier when I said I love big titles, right? It doesn't matter. Right. I'm here to achieve a very specific business outcome. Mm-hmm. I'm going to wrangle the right resources. I'm going to help people see the opportunity differently. I'm not going to wait for answers. certainly not going to wait for people to give things to me. I'm going to request them. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people move into roles from sales that were not right. They moved into those roles, both sales leadership roles and also sales training roles. People take great sellers and they say, hey, now we're going to put you in a sales training role and show everyone how you do it. And the minute they take them on the field, that knowledge and that, the practitioner in them dies. And then, they stop learning and gaining. I've seen that happen. Sure. It's also interesting to see, I've seen people move into sales leadership roles who wanted to go above that. And they're horrible sales managers, because their goal was to get above that to another role, another position. So I love what you said, that people who are, great sales managers go into it for the right reasons. They love coaching. They love developing people. I've had great ones. I've had terrible ones. And I think that you have to have that love of understanding where people are coming from, knowing that you're going to have to juggle all this other stuff and then all the people stuff here. And I also see that with business owners, most of them have no business being the sales manager, because they have all the business stuff, all the, the buck stops with them. They have no time nor the mental capacity to take on people and coach people to what they need. So I think definitely not everyone should. I think you have to definitely get people and go into it for the right reasons.
Right. Yeah. Number one problem is time, right? So if you have all these other responsibilities, you're the marketer, the chief administrative officer, the financial guy. I'm not pointing to myself. I'm pointing to my clock here, just for anybody. If anybody's wondering what I'm doing.
I'm pointing to my guitar.
The clock is usually there. I positioned it there purposely because I figured I would probably be making reference to it.
Oh.
But if you can't juggle, let me rephrase. It is physically impossible to juggle all of those responsibilities and be an effective sales manager, which I think is, it's kind of one of the obvious reasons why having a partner like a professional selling agency would be such a great thing to have access to. Shameless plug.
So let me ask you a question. Yeah, I know that was really good. That was excellent. Well done.
Thank you. Do you have any other products you want me to place here? I'll put them right here.
That'd be great. Yeah. I should have sent you a mug. So one of the things that I talk about a lot with people who are looking for the right, being a great salesperson, you got to find the right sales role. And I always say, I don't think this is hard and fast, but interview for the right manager before you're interviewing for the right job. And one of my favorite questions to ask was, and I'd love to hear what I'm getting at here as far as salespeople, as you're finding the right roles for yourself, what are the right things to be asking in an interview, especially the person that's going to be directly managing you? And first of all, make sure you're talking to the person who directly manages you, which was a big, fat mistake I made one time. But the second one that I really like to ask my manager, the manager that I would be working with, is, do people win around you? And I'll tell you, I was interviewing for a big deal sales position, and the guy couldn't answer that. He's like, what do you mean, do people win around? Like, it was, do you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, This is not a guy that I want to work with. And it turns out that his whole sales team fell apart. And I kind of had inside scoop on, he's just not a good sales manager. And the whole thing fell apart within 14 months. But anyway, what are the good questions that you think?
Yeah. I think it would be good to get some insight as to how the team actually functions. Like one question would be, what would our rhythm be together, or cadence? Like if we looked at a week or a month on the calendar, how would we typically interact? And I would want to listen for things like, we make time for planning. We focus on the early stages of the business pipeline rather than freak out at the end of every month and quarter and work frantically to, put fires out and save deals. We focus on getting better together. So that would be why I would ask that question. Another question would be, okay, you've been in this job as a sales manager for X amount of time. What have you learned about the organization? What have you learned about your people?
That's a good one.
Right? Hopefully they have an answer. If they don't, run. Right? I mean, you're not learning in the sales manager's chair. There's something seriously wrong. Right? You're exposed to so much strategic, tactical, everything in between. You learn about customers. You learn about the market. Every day there's a lesson to be learned. And if they're not sure about what the answer is to that question.
Yeah. And if what they're giving you is like the company spokesperson line, then run too.
Yes.
I have one question that I asked this when I would hire people to work for me. I asked this of people that I would interview with. Dianna, I've not shared this one with you. And now I ask it when I'm talking to like managing partners, principals, or business owners, because I really want to know this about how I'm going to work with someone. I ask people, so there's going to be stress. There are going to be things that fall apart, shit happens, crap stuff, whatever. But how does stress manifest itself in you? Like, what's your response? Are you, I like, especially employees, I needed to know this. Do you shut down? Do you come out swinging? Do you roll your sleeves up, double down? How does stress manifest itself in you? One, it catches them off guard. They have to stop and think about it. And in that, there's such good tells when people just stop and think about it. Like, Dianna, do people win around you if he did like a clenching moment, like, oh crap, she's got me.
What does she even mean by that? I'm like, what do I mean by that?
What is winning?
Matt, people win around you, don't they? Don't people win around you?
Yes.
Yeah.
But knowing how people manifest stress and what they do with it is so key to know how you're going to work with them. If you're knowing what your personality is and how do you shut down? Do you go all in? Do you need to talk about it? Those kind of things are super important when you're looking at somebody you have a really close relationship with. Regardless of how much actual time they have to spend with you, they're thinking of you. You are a part of their team, a part of their success. They're a part of your success. So it's a very close relationship.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question.
So let's talk about a nasty, terrible thing that you did to a sales manager one time that you learned from that like maybe didn't exactly work in your favor.
Wow. Let me think about that. Nasty thing that I did.
I'll tell you, I was terrible. I was terrible. There was one sales manager I had who I just could not at all get behind. I mean, I really felt like he was totally in my way. And I didn't help any situation by going, directly to the CEO and voicing my concerns and my complaints without sort of addressing it with my manager first. So we ultimately got that all sorted. But if I'd had the maturity and the courage to, go to my sales manager, have some empathy for what he was dealing with, because when I look back on, as I was preparing for this call, which, we take about, 30 seconds to prepare for our shows. But I was thinking, I would have really hated to have been him and be trying to manage me, because I was very secretive about what mattered to me and what was going to motivate me. And, I was awful. And then going directly to the CEO with my complaint was, it just didn't help anybody win.
There is an example, it goes back a ways to right before my time at Huthwaite. I worked for a company that was in the IT services business. And I had an immediate sales manager and then a second line manager who was kind of a regional VP. And I remember it to this day. We were sitting in a conference room together, and I don't really know why it was one-on-one. Normally it would have been him and my immediate manager and me. And long story short, and this kind of comes back to the preparation thing I was talking about earlier. I knew what the focus was going to be about. It was about territory planning. Now, this was a while ago. It was, I hadn't learned the lesson, hard enough lesson yet. But I sat in that room, and I swear it was an hour-long meeting where virtually every question that he asked, my answer was, I don't know. I don't know. It was awful.
Nasty.
It was awful. And I know
Did you act like rolling your eyes and heavy sighs? I don't know.
Why do you ask me that?
Lord.
Good Lord. What do you mean? What's the name of the customer? Who am I? What do you mean? What's the customer's phone number? I have no idea. This is crazy talk. I remember it, and it was awful. And I got feedback through my immediate manager that the second line manager wanted to, can me immediately. It was, and this is going back, 15 years. And so thankfully, I wish I had the chance to sit down with that manager. His name was Mark, and go through virtually the same kind of dialogue with him and show him what I've learned.
Oh.
And that's how I look at these things. I don't
Mark,
regret.
if you're listening, Matt really wants to communicate to
Find
you.
him on
He
LinkedIn.
gets it and he's sorry
Yes,
anymore.
please, Mark, please come back to DC. But that's how I look at it, right? I look back at these. I don't look at that. I don't look back at those mistakes with any regret.
Yeah.
Right.
Other than maybe I wouldn't have the chance to go back and show Mark what I've learned. I think he'd be impressed now, not because I'm so great, but because I've learned. Anyway, so I think that is the worst thing that I've done. Unfortunately, it's not something I've replicated in the last decade or so.
Well, that's not terrible. I think that's good. That's like, maybe a rookie mistake. And again, you're going to make mistakes, but you have to learn from them. So
Sure.
I'd say you recovered beautifully.
Thank you.
And Mark,
Please.
thanks
Mark.
for all your patience with dear little Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Something, this is really pretty terrible that I did to one of my sales managers one time. And he's a friend of mine. I worked with him at 2 different companies and I respect him tremendously, but I think I've shared this story with you, Diana. So in our market, there were 4 locations there were 2, then they acquired another company, 2 other companies, there became 4 locations. They needed a market director. And so my boss said, Shawn, this is beautiful. This is perfect for you to be a market director, manage your own center, and then, manage these others. And he said, it's a promotion, but it didn't come with any raises. It came with, now I had 11 direct reports, none of which I would have hired myself, but I was responsible for their success. And the only upshot to this was if they performed, then I got a bonus. There was nothing. And I said, no. He's like, what do you mean, no? You're not going to take this promotion? I said, well, let's go back. I would not have hired these folks. And a promotion, I want to raise. I want to raise my base because it's going to take a while. I may have to fire them to get people on board to perform. And so he was just like, well, this position doesn't come with the raise. And I said, I don't care. And I would not take it. And he was so mad at me. And then the next time he came into town, I had removed all my personal effects from the office.
That's great.
It's like, what's going on? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I was just cleaning. And so,
terrible.
Moral of the story was they gave me a raise to take that position because they could. They wanted me to do it, and they could. And I just held out, and I got the raise.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good ending. But God, he must have been mortified when he walked into your office.
I need to apologize. I need to call him and apologize.
Just tell him, after this, we'll send a link to Mark and to your guy.
Yes.
And it'll all be taken care of.
Exactly.
So I've always had a coach in my sales career. And I'm curious what you think of that. And, a lot of it was, even if I had somebody who was a good mentor or a good manager, there are things that I needed to work through sort of outside of the setting, because you can't rely on your manager will obviously be your coach is what I thought. But what do you think about that? When should you hire a coach? Should you hire a coach? Does that help an individual contributor?
Yeah. You independently went out and got a coach, right?
Right. Like a Dianna coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yes. Well, I mean, clearly I would advocate for coaches, and I think it's good to have a coach who's outside of your environment, but who's also willing to still coach you in context. I mean, I think it's one thing. I think that's the difference. This may not be the book definition, but I think that one of the differences between a mentor and a coach is, coaches tend to be far more contextual. Mentors may be sort of big picture and, developing you as a person. And again, I'm sure you could find an expert who would dispute my definition and say, no, that's completely wrong, Matt, you're an idiot. But I'd have to say you're right. But no, I think it makes total sense. Right.
And don't hire a life coach. And don't, I had one time where my coach cost me more in the quarter than, something that I was reliable for earning $85,000 a year on my own. Right.
Right.
And I was always really interested in being much more, at that job, I was much more interested in solid 120 or solid 130. But I knew I was reliable for 85. So anything that we weren't earning over 85, she wasn't worth it to me, right? And plus her fee. And I put her on notice one quarter and I said, that's the only quarter that we're going to be at a loss. And I think that's and we weren't at a loss ever again, but I think that's a super important thing for people to understand too, is it looks like it might be expensive, and if it's not paying off, then you need to move on. But anyway, those are
Look, that maps directly to the business I'm in, right? We're getting hired by middle market and large companies to coach the coaches, to coach the sales managers. And everything that we do, sure, there are general thematic things we're working on together, strategic elements, but we make sure that we're focused about, we spend at least part of our time talking about real deals. Yeah. I want our customer to look at the work we've done and say, well, we can identify 10 opportunities we would not have won had we not collaborated with our USR coach and had our manager not taken a different approach. So coaches out there watching this, you better pay for yourselves, right? I think that's the key, especially if you're an outside coach. You better have an engagement approach that guarantees that when your customer looks back at what he or she or they are spending with you, you can point to something very specifically like, no, we actually helped you to win here. Yeah. Here was how you gained something tangible, not like you said, not the life coach who, you've gained inner peace or anything like that. Those are all useful. Not the business I'm in. I don't know about you guys, but
I have much more inner peace when I'm earning a lot more money.
Me too.
So I want to do two things. The first one is I want to point people to your awesome salesperson's manifesto.
Yes.
I want you to pitch whatever it is that you want to pitch, and then
there it is.
You're so good.
There it is.
Shawn has a back of the envelope question for you before we go, but where do they find that manifesto? And then what is something that you want to pitch on the show? Like where should people find you? Sure.
So that salesperson's manifesto, it's in a LinkedIn post called Salespeople Unite. So if you just look me up, Matt McDarby, McDarby, and look for my posts, I think it's the most recent one. And I know the two of you had a chance to read it and I appreciated that. And it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but the premise is this. If you as a sales manager don't step up and lead effectively, you should prepare yourself for the day when your salespeople are going to nail something like this on your door. And it says, "We demand better sales leadership." See, there's a little nail in it too.
I love it. It's gorgeous.
Yes. Yeah. So look, the game has changed in professional sales, and if you want to be a sales manager, you better take your game up to the next level. And so there's two things I would pitch along those lines. First, I have an as yet to be titled book that will be coming out in September. I will be sure to let you guys know.
Good.
You know the title.
Excellent.
It is coming out, and the idea is it's identifying the fundamentals of excellent sales leadership. What is it that separates great sales leaders from just average ones? Mm-hmm. And we've got little vignettes, stories of people that I've worked with over the years, and then some concrete frameworks that I think are kind of repeatable, easy to understand, that particularly a new sales manager or any frontline manager can read and actually apply immediately. So that book will be coming out soon. Thank you.
Good.
And then our company's website, the company's United Sales Resources, and it's at www.usr-llc.com, and learn a little bit about what we do. But ultimately, the thing that we do, we solve a few problems. One, like I said, we address that number one complaint of every sales manager, right? We help sales management teams to figure out how they can make more time to do important things well. It's the number one problem we solve. And we do that through what I think is a kind of a creative engagement model. We are not a traditional training firm. We don't do a lot of stand-up instructor-led training. Instead, it's a very targeted one-to-one sort of interaction with a dedicated coach or team. And if any of that sounds like it could potentially be helpful, best way to reach me is matt@usr-llc.com.
So great. Thank you so much for being here. All right, Shawn. What's the back of the envelope?
I'm ready.
Okay, so I'm. It's either the back of an envelope, the back of a note, or back of a receipt.
Whatever works. Yeah.
So what I want to know is, in your Facebook feed, what drives you crazier? Politically charged in your face posts, or people posting about CrossFit?
Well, I will tell you, up until about 18 months ago, I was a CrossFitter, but I did not post. Okay. I didn't do, here's my PR, or I just did look at my front squat and my rack and any of that stuff. No, look at my rack. No, it's definitely the political. Let's just leave that there. Don't run with that one. It's the political stuff. And, I've got one of my absolute best friends in the world who I've known since I was 9. Eventually, I know what I'm going to say to him. I know what the response is going to be. And it's going to be like, don't you have time for anything else? Don't you? I mean, I know you have a job. You've got a family. I mean, you got things to do. Can you do anything? Do me a favor. Post about your dinner last night. That would be infinitely more interesting than what you just subjected me to. In fact, final thought on this. I removed the Facebook app from my phone. I only look at it. I look at it like once or twice a week on the weekend on my laptop, and I'll catch up on the family updates and things like that. But I'm just tired of it. So it's definitely the political posts. Who has time for it? I certainly don't.
Right.
Because you're a CrossFit.
Yes. Yep.
We love you, CrossFitters. Keep doing what you do.
Yep.
Do what you do.
Stay on that paleo diet. It's incredibly interesting.
Matt, you are so generous with your time to come on today.
Oh, thank you.
I think you gave excellent advice for our boots on the ground phone and the hand sellers. So our long version will come out next week, and I'll let you know about that. And then our edited version will come out in 2020 because we're right on track.
Excellent.
No, we're getting our video editing up and running. But anyway, thank you so much for being on here. And if there's anything that we can ever do, to reciprocate, we would be so happy to.
I appreciate it, and I will certainly let you know. It's so nice to spend the time with you. Thanks again.
Well, thanks for being here. And hey, when your book comes out, we love a good book. Diana and I,
we love a good book.
We are learn harder is one of our mantras. It's I want to outlearn anyone who could ever know anything and take it all in and absorb it. So we can't wait to get your book.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. We'll share it. We'll make sure we tag you and share it with you.
I really appreciate that. Quick 10-second story really fast. Last week I went to Sales Machine.
Oh, Sales Machine
in New York. I met Trish Prezi, by the way, and I dropped your name, Diana, because that was the one credential I thought I needed for Trish to pay any attention to me.
And it didn't work. She turned her back.
No, she's like, yeah, that's great. No, she said, I love her. Thanks so much. I was, it was kind of a quick. Anyway, the other person I met, who I'd not met in person before, was Jill Conrath.
Yeah.
And sat and talked to her. I thanked her. She wrote a great story about her husband you guys may have seen not too long ago. And I thanked her for it. And I think because it set me back, and I shared it with a bunch of people. And the book, this is where it comes in. She wrote, I don't have the book here in this office, unfortunately, but she wrote in the inscription in the new book, she wrote, Matt, it's about time, Jill. And I read it the first time. I was like, it's about time for what? Like, what is she? I was like, oh, it's about time. I got it. Snap sell, so that was my brush with greatness. She's so nice, and that was so. I'm a lifelong learner myself. I will get you guys a copy of the book. I hope you love it, and if you don't tell me.
We'll be very, very quiet.
Yes, please. Yeah, don't even mention that you read it.
No, I'm sure it's full of gold nuggets. And
well, if it's anything like your manifesto, I'm gonna just adore it. So.
Good.
Really good stuff.
Thanks again, guys.
All right, Matt. Thanks. Have a great day. Go
too.
Tell something to somebody.
I'm going to.
All right, Shawn, was that the answer to your back of the envelope answer that you were looking for?
Yes. Yeah. I back of the envelope, back of the receipt, back of whatever's laying on my desk, I will write it. We can't thank Matt McDarby enough. Such good knowledge for salespeople. Love it. Love it.
Did you know that he was CrossFit when you were asking this question?
No, but he looked like a pretty fit guy. So I was pretty sure he would know what I was talking about.
Oh, that was so funny. He's like, I'm CrossFit. Anyway, so that is a wrap of our show. I will kick us out by saying, stop hoping
and start selling.
Bye. Bye.